we find these white coat bearers skipping the emotional toil of work and working restlessly day in and day out. Well, this accords well with Martin Fischer's words when he said, "Our profession is the only one which works unceasingly to annihilate itself." Keeping these words in mind, ladies and gentlemen, today I, Pranita Khulbe, a second-year medical student, along with my fellow members of GMSA, would like to thank you all for coming here and being a part of this webinar. GMSA, Government Medical Students Association, is a voluntary organization formed by the medical students of the state with the sole objective of building a unified network between students that ultimately works for their benefit. It conducts activities, seminars, and other programs for a 360-degree holistic development. As doctors of tomorrow and future leaders of health, we aim to equip medical students with resources, skills, and knowledge to positively impact the communities they serve. This Doctors' Day, GMSA, with support of IMA UK, Indian Medical Association Uttarakhand, has organized this webinar on the topic, Future of Medical Education in Post-COVID Era. Are we working for the new normal? Well, we have also organized 2 more events, Penicillin and Medicinae Cognitus. Last day of submission is 4th July. All the interested participants, please submit your entries by the deadline. Results will be announced thereafter. Coming back to the webinar, well, we are all aware of changing dynamics of education system before the pandemic and in the present time. The very first question that clicks our mind, what are the changes that can be seen post this pandemic in both clinical and non-clinical fields? How can we normalize this strategy in our practice? How far are we working for this change? With this, we start the webinar for today. During the speeches and discussions by our panelists, you can ask questions through the chat boxes with your name and university name. Our guest speakers would be happy to answer them.
Let me please introduce our first guest speaker of the day, a radiologist who has additionally co-developed himself as a renowned entrepreneur. He has been one of the delegates at the TEDx talks and many more international conferences and universities. Serving as the editor-in-chief of the International Journal of Radiology, most of us know him as the director and founder of the very prestigious DAMS Institute. Apart from being a pioneer of medical teleeducation in India by launching the medicos, he is the author of approximately 50 publications, and his 7th edition of Review of Radiology is a bestseller among the medical students. It is my proud privilege to invite none other than Dr. Sumer Sethi. Sir, I would now like you to hand over the platform.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, and I would like to start my talk by wishing all the doctors who are listening to us, all the medical students who are listening to us, a very, very happy Doctors' Day. I think this is the day that we all look forward to celebrate, and I think this is the day in this particular year of 2020 which makes so much sense. I would like to begin by telling all the young doctors of Uttarakhand and other people following you on various social media platforms who are listening to us, that this is the era, this is the year where the doctors are being respected like never before. So I want you to be like, take pride in this moment, be proud of what you are, and be happy about the meaningful impact that you are able to do as a doctor in the society. And I would also like to mention in the beginning itself that being a doctor is a privilege. Why do I say it's a privilege is because if you imagine today you have like people having various notions or various ideas about what is happening in the world, what is this disease, what is cytokine crisis, what is it happening. And as a doctor, we are at a privileged position where we understand what is happening. And that is the position of privilege that a doctor always has. That even if we do not have the cure to a disease, we are able to actually understand what is going on. And I think that's a privilege. I'm sure you would agree that all the panelists would also agree here that most of your family members or relatives or people in your WhatsApp groups must be asking you what's going on. what is this virus? What is a virus? What is a bacteria? What is this happening? And at least, being a doctor, we have the privilege that we understand what is going on. And the cure and the vaccine, everything would come in due course. But at least we are in a privileged position as a doctor that we understand how the human body works. And till today, if we look at even a single organ of our body like brain, the amount of complexity that is there in the brain and what we know as a doctor, as a medical student, is a matter of privilege. I'm sure you would agree that you know about hippocampus, you know about amygdala, you know about the prefrontal cortex, you know how they work. And I think this is a privilege. And when we have a privilege like this as a doctor, it is our duty to share this privilege to others by helping, the patients and by helping and touching their lives in a meaningful manner. The second privilege that we have as a doctor is that people come to you when they are in despair and when they seek help. And if you help them at that time, which we do as a doctor, you leave a mark on not only on their themselves, also on their family members or their relatives, and you actually impact the entire family. So being a doctor is a unique place where your profession and purpose are, the same. You have a purpose of, serving the humanity, and this is your profession as well. We are lucky to have this kind of thing. So, I would like to begin by wishing you all the, young students and Association of Uttarakhand, and I'm very happy to meet you all here. And I would like to, congratulate you on, being a part of this noble profession. Okay. And let's now go on to the topic that has been for today. And I'm sure, you have heard the previous speakers speak, and you have more speakers to talk after me as well. But what I will tell you today is, I will divide the thing that I'm going to tell you into two parts. The today era and the era that will be immediate post-COVID era, and the era which will be a little later. Now what happens is sometimes we get too overwhelmed with the situation that is currently happening, that we don't see that there was a normal which was very different from what we are facing today 2 months back, 3 months back. If you remember, in January, everything was normal. You were actually going into the colleges, you were sitting in your classes, you were sitting in the classrooms, interacting with the teachers, you were seeing the OPD patients, everything was happening. So I want you to know that thing will not go away. The only thing that right now we are having is, we are having a storm. Okay, so please look at the pandemic as a storm or an earthquake. It's an event which is of massive intensity, which is happening right now, and we are in the middle of it. It's not yet over. We are in the middle of it. So what happens is, and this is what I've learned in my life, and I want to give it to all the youngsters who are listening to me today, is that what I've learned a hard way in life is that the good times do not last. Every time I'm happy, like I am eating a chocolate, a very, very good quality chocolate, I eat, I get pleasure, but it does not last. I'm very sad about it. But the second thing is, bad times also do not last. And that is where is the equalizer of time. Good times do not last, bad times don't last. So, that tells us that we look back at the human history, we know that this would not last forever. And that is, the faith that we have on the human ability to fight the diseases and the today medical science ability to come up with a cure or a vaccine. So this would not last. There will be an end. Okay, I want to reassure all the youngsters, children from Uttarakhand listening to me, but there will be an end to this. Don't worry about it. There will be an end. But right now we are in the middle of the storm. And I want to ask all the listeners today, when you are in the middle of the storm, what do you need? When you are in the middle of a storm, you need patience. You need patience. So right now, the key for all young doctors who are listening to us today is, I get a lot of messages and mails from students in distress who keep saying, sir, I'm not able to study the amount I was able to study in the past. I'm not able to study the number of hours I was able to give 2 months back. Then I have to tell him again and again, beta, this is not a normal scenario. This is a storm happening around it. Deep down in your mind, you are worried about your own health, your family's health, your patient's health, the society in general. With that worry, there is anxiety. In anxiety, you will not be able to study in the same manner in which you will be able to study 6 months back. So the first thing you need to know is, Please have patience. Things will pass and gradually they will come back to normal. The second thing I want you to know is, I want all the children especially who are listening to us is, you will feel anxiety today. That is true. And not only as a doctor, as a family person, as a youngster, you have elders in your family, they're all worried. There is anxiety. Okay. So be a little soft on yourself. As a doctor, I'm telling you something very different from what you hear usually. As a doctor, people tell us to be very strong. We are supposed to be so strong that we are supposed to have no emotions. We are not supposed to get anxious. But I am telling you, in current scenario, be a little soft on yourself. If you are unable to study to 100% of your ability, it is okay. You will come out of it, because this is you have the perspective that this is not your situation. It's a pan world situation happening here. Let's have that, patience. The second thing I want you to have is very, very important, and I think that will help all of us, all the children who are listening to me today, to ward off this is, when we are in the middle of a storm, but we have our dreams. Like, you understand here that what I feel when I talk to medical students is, they are concerned that if my quality of my clinical training, quality of my preparation, quality of my studies suffers, I will not be able to become the doctor that I wanted to become. They have that dreams also. So when we have a dream to nurture and we are in the middle of a storm, what we need to do is, I'll tell you the secret here is, the secret is target progress. Do not target perfection. You will not be able to become perfect in this situation, because there is so many duties you have as a doctor and a medical student today that you will not be able to study perfectly. But if you are able to maintain progress, what I mean by progress is, we should have some rhythm of study. Because as a doctor, we need to study. As a medical student, you need to study. So there should be some rhythm in study. And then we will be happy if you are able to make some progress. We will be very happy if kuch aage badh raha hai. We are making some progress. That's okay. That's good enough. That should be our target. Okay. And second, this is the current era, but I know that the topic that you have given to me is about the post-COVID era. So, I'll talk about the post-COVID era, because a reason I'm, stressing on this point is because we are not out of the storm right now. Okay. So we are not in the post-COVID era. I want you, the listeners, to understand. We are in the storm right now. We are in the middle of it. India is not at a play to. Don't, be safe. Don't, and if you are any, any non-medical friends who are listening to me right now, stay at home right now. That is very, very important. Be safe. Okay, so don't take this message that the unlock is happening, so everything is safe. It's not. We are in the middle of the storm. But I've already told you that knowing the human history, we will come out of it. There will be a point where we'll come out of it. And when we come out of it, we will be in an immediate post-COVID era and a later era. In an immediate post-COVID era, in learning, what we will see is, we will see a surge. We will see a surge, and we will see a binge on people seeking face-to-face interaction. I'm telling you this here is because what has happened is, we have seen in the last 3 months or 4 months, there is hardly any college life for any student, whatsoever, any school life. Now, what we have done is, we have tried, on our own part as DAMS, we are doing the e-learning thing, and we are going on the medicos app. The schools are going on Zoom and learning. We are doing this webinar today on, technology platform. But what could happen is, what is missing here? What I truly miss is, I miss the ability to shake hands with all these youngsters who are sitting in front of you. And, if I had, visited your place to give a talk here, I would have actually met you, and it would have been such a wonderful thing to meet all the youngsters, see their smiling faces, and the transfer of energy that happens in a real interaction would be something else. So what I believe is that once this storm is over, what will happen is, you will see a surge in the desire that the humans have of social interaction. But in the immediate era where we will be at the plateau phase and at the downfall phase, we will have to be careful, because we have seen in many countries they have fears of the second peak coming on. So we'll have to be careful about it, and we will have to continue using technology in the initial part. But then what will happen is, once we are through with this era, I truly believe that the human interaction will become at a premium. It will become, so sought after that, like never before. A doctor-patient relationship where today a patient, he's trying to WhatsApp you, trying to call you on phone, trying to do a video call. He's missing the human touch where a doctor would just touch you here and say everything will be okay. Today we are unable to do this because of the fears. And I feel that the first thing that would happen is after the initial phobia, the fear would now right now it is a mandatory fear. We should be afraid of the situation right now. We should take precautions. But then there will be a phase where we will be taking precaution, like Dr. Tanuja also told me, told us before I spoke, was that there will be a phase where people will be using masks. Even after the era, there will be a phase where we'll be overtly careful. But then there will be the era where the daylight will come back again, and we will again start with this time with the surge, with the vengeance, all those face-to-face interactions, social interactions, the schools, the colleges, because I feel the school college was never about a person speaking and others listening. It was so much about the environment that you get in a classroom. Today, there is a talk of schools being replaced by a media like a video conferencing. But what about the children making friends with each other, children playing cricket and all those things? So they will come back with vengeance. And what will happen is we will value what we have. And I also feel that what would happen is in the post-COVID era, doctors would be valued like much more than ever before. What I have seen is, and I want to reassure the children here, because I see a lot of children who are pursuing medicine. They are afraid that have they taken the right profession or not? What is happening? Sometimes the patients are arguing with us, and sometimes there's so much stress right now. But I want to reassure you, after this era is over, we will realize as a society, what is our priority? I will explain to you with an example. Okay, it's a very, very, very example that I'll give you today. Now today, if you are a founder of an app like TikTok, there are people wanting to invest millions and billions of rupees on TikTok. But if you want to open a hospital and you want a bank to invest on it, nobody is ready right now. But today, this nature, the mother nature, the disease has made everybody realize the value of a doctor and a hospital. And if as a nation we spend a minuscule percentage on healthcare, and I think even the global leadership will open up to the idea that healthcare is more important than TikTok. I'm sure the kids here would agree. I don't know if you feel the other way around, but I feel healthcare is more important than TikTok, and people wanting to burn money into things like that and not understanding how important a doctor is, how much more medical colleges do we need, how much more education needs to be done. So I think there will be an era after the COVID era. Once the initial fear settles down, there will be an era of enlightenment where we will realize how important all those things were, which we were never valuing. If you remember, 6 months back, a patient going to a doctor sitting in the OPD was not valuing that doctor is available to him face to face and he can shake hands. Today, this has become such a difficult thing to have. Today, you can't have, and I'll add a line here. I'll add a line here. And then there will be an era where the medical students of, I'm especially talking to the students who are interns right now. Now, what has happened is, what medicine do we learn in our MBBS? Majority of the practical thing we learn in internship. Now, what has happened is, in this today era, the children who are doing internship right now are not getting the necessary clinical exposure. All they know is PPE, masks, sanitizer, possible COVID case, and they do not know that other diseases are also there. They're forgetting this. I hope you agree that other diseases are not over. There are malignancies happening, the cardiac diseases are happening. They're still happening. But it's just that because of the overwhelming storm of one disease, the other things have been kind of put into the subdued thing. But they would be important for you as your medical practice. So it is our duty as seniors right now, people who have had the privilege of learning in the previous era. Once this storm is over, the fear is over, it will be duty of all all educators in colleges, coachings, medical schools, hospitals, even if you are a senior to somebody, just all educators will have to teach the clinical experience to these interns. We will have to very rapidly pass our experience to them so that they are able to cover up the gap that they have encountered because of the situation. And then I would also like to, make a quick mention about the students who are right now in third and fourth year. And these third and fourth year students are, in a situation where they have multiple challenges opening up for them right now. One challenge is that they are unable to do the, it's like palpating a patient is so much integral part of our clinical examination that I can't even imagine that, how can I learn the skill, the art of medicine without touching the patient? But today, the children have the problem that they are not touching the patient. So what I would tell all the third year and fourth year students is who are worried about those skills, that I feel that there are two parts to our medical learning. There is a part of the theory where we understand from the quality textbook, quality educators, what the disease is all about. And there is a part which we learn from the patient. The part that you learn from the patient will be delayed right now. You will not be able to learn with the ease that we were able to learn, because even if a patient comes to you with knee pain, you will not be able to touch him right now because you do not know. You do not know. So what will happen is that there will be a gap, but you will fill up that gap by learning about the disease process right now, and very quickly you will cover up the gap in the post-COVID era. But every cloud, every dark cloud has a silver lining. What we have learned in this storm, in this dark situation, what we have all learned as educators, I'm sure, and doctors, we have learned the way to cover up by technology. And I think, although, I still, I totally hold my ground that technology is not the main thing. The main thing is human interaction. When a doctor truly speaks to a patient, or a teacher talks to a child face to face and listens to him, there's no replacing that. But what has happened is, because of the innate human need to innovate and to solve problems, we have all solved problems. Like I appreciate, the Uttarakhand Medical Student Association that, the Government Medical Student Association that I'm talking to right now. All these children, I see in their eyes, they are all innovators. They want to do the same event that they would have done otherwise in their auditoriums, in their college auditorium. They want to maintain the continuity. And these young innovators have found the platform of technology to do this. What I truly believe is that this is what entire mankind has done. In our own organization, like, in DAMS, what we have done is we have enabled most of our staff to work from home, which, if I look at the pre-COVID era, there was no concept of work from home in DAMS. People used to come to office and work. Now we have learned it. Now I suspect that even when we get over with this storm, we will retain some of this culture with us, some of the culture with us. What will happen in future for education also will be, like, the teachers would also use technology. All those classic teachers, you would have seen a lot of old senior professors who would not use technology earlier. Now they are also opening up. Now what will happen is, when the storm is over, when there is calm and the sunlight is back on and we are in the normal as we knew before, we would be using all this also. So what will happen is, we would be doing the face-to-face things, we would be using the technology things, and the entire educators would be reaching out to the students in multiple ways. And that is what I think is the biggest take home from this scenario. And one thing that it has all made us value is, value of family, value of relationships. I'm sure, children would also hear, because all these medical students who are listening to us today, most of the children who are listening to us, they are all high impact seekers. Because you people, because of your medical career, I'm sure you were predominantly into studies most of the time. And this is the opportunity where you got the opportunity to spend some time with your parents and your family members and value relationships. I firmly believe that we have always three balls to juggle in our life. Those three balls are careers. In career, I mean ambition, dreams that we have. I'm sure, I can see all the children and the doctors with me today. You have your own dreams about your careers, your ambition, what you want to build. Some people have ambitions on building a hospital or, getting into an academic post. You have an ambition of doing some kind of surgeries and becoming the best in some kind of thing. So you have that ambition. That is one ball. The second ball that we have in life is relationships. You have family members, you have parents, this is a moment where we need to spend this moment also in gratitude. We have to be grateful for what we have. We have to express our gratitude to your parents, your family members, your friends, where we never had the time. I'm sure you would agree. As professionals, we were running before the storm came, and when the storm hit, suddenly we got a little realization that, okay, what if the storm hits us? We need to express the gratitude right now. So the key here is the second ball that we are trying to juggle is family and relations. And the third ball that we have to juggle is health. I want to tell all the children here is that whatever may be the time, your health as young doctors and your life as young doctors is precious. So, this is not a time for any heroic. Please take all due precautions, whatever, possible, to make sure that you can, we need you for future. You are the future of healthcare in India. So please take precautions and balance the third ball, that is health. So what we have to juggle all the time, even in normal scenarios, is we have to juggle our dreams, our relationships, and our health all the time. Okay. Out of this juggle that we are doing, I want to tell you a secret today. The ball of career or ball of dreams is made up of rubber, but the other two balls are made up of glass. Now what happens is, while juggling, if your career suffers once, suppose you don't do well in an exam, okay, but I am reminding you today that is a rubber ball. It hits the ground, it comes back, okay, and you will get another opportunity. But if the health ball falls, which is a glass ball, what will happen? There is no recovery. You have to be safe. If the relationships, if you do not express feelings and gratitude right now, you may not get that chance later on. So it's very, very important to balance all these three things. And in this storm, you have to understand career, you will be able to take up. Don't worry, have patience and only target progress. Don't target perfection in this era of storm in your studies, because what will happen is you will not be able to, you will create frustration for yourself. But target progress. I'll give you an idea. I'll give you an idea on how we went about things in our organization. Now what happened was, in March, we had thousands and thousands of students in NAMS who were enrolled in different classroom programs. And when the lockdown came, we had to continue their studies. In the initial phase, what we did was, and I want you to understand what I'm saying, in the initial 1 month, we converted their sessions. They were attending with us, a Saturday, Sunday, or a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, long hour classes. In the initial phase, I converted them into live lectures on medicos of short duration spread over the day, like 1.5 hour, 3 hour, 3 hour in the first month. Some students were not able to understand why am I doing this. I'm going to tell you why. Because I knew that was the acute phase of anxiety that the children were having. I thought if we can keep them engaged with small interval of lectures through the day, and in between they get time to do whatever they wanted to do otherwise, their anxiety would be lessened. And what I saw was, because of that 1 month, a lot of students came back into the positive phase, which they were very, very worried, because the current generation, and even our generation, we have never seen a pandemic. We've never seen a pandemic, and we have never seen something of this magnitude. So there was so much fear, anxiety. Sir, what would happen? In the beginning, I got messages from students, sir, I think I'm having some body ache. Am I having corona? They were so afraid themselves. So it was not easy. So in the first month, before we converted the classes into small duration lectures spread over the day so that we can keep them engaged. And that engagement, when they were putting their mind on studies, their mind was away from the negativity. And I think that, and gradually, we normalize the schedule gradually to now we are doing those Friday, Saturday, Sunday lectures for the interns. Now, but what I feel is that the same thing, same principles will apply for the post-COVID era as well. We would have to engage the young minds into constructive activity initially, because otherwise their mind will keep going back to the negativity. It will not be easy to come out of it, because especially if we have some casualty, if we see, and if because especially I want to talk to the doctors also, young doctors here who are working in emergencies right now. The kind of mortality sometimes you might be seeing here, or kind of suffering that you see here, will leave an traumatic impact on your mind. But you need to keep telling yourself it's a storm, it's a natural disaster which is happening here, and you are having the same suffering that a doctor would have if he's serving in a place where there's an earthquake going on. So there will be some impact on the children of today, and I feel that as educators, it will be our duty to keep them engaged in meaningful activities for more number of hours initially, so that we are able to bring them back into the positivity. Now, what makes the world, and I if I have time to conclude, if I have time to conclude here, I'll just give an idea before I take any questions from you. I believe that whatever mankind has achieved in the entire history is because of our optimism. Human race is the most optimistic species in the world. No other animal species will ever think about flying if they don't have the wings. We don't have the wings, but we are optimistic that one day we will make an aeroplane and it will fly, and we fly. And we are still optimistic that one day we will go and live in Mars. We have optimism. So what will happen in the post-COVID era, and I am sure there will be people talking about other things and curriculum and all the things, but what I feel is in the post-COVID era, the most important role of educators is to bring back that same optimism about future in the youngsters. If only one message you can take from me today is, I'm again and again saying, this will pass, have patience, you will have a world that you dreamt about back. You will have a world one day where you will be again chasing dreams without worrying about health. And I wish all the best to all the listeners and the young doctors, and I'm happy to take any questions by you.
Thank you so much, sir, for those enlightened words, and surely they're going to help us to gear up for the new future. My name is Nakshatra Gangwar, and from here, I would like to request all the participants who would like to ask any question. They may comment in the Facebook app and or in the Zoom app, and I shall read out to the sir. Okay, sir. Here we have our first question. What changes would you suggest to Indian medical colleges so that they can opt in this pandemic for the students?
No, I think this is a very, very broad question, but I think medical colleges in India are not purely colleges. They are also hospitals. So, in this era, medical college is overwhelmed. I want the children also to understand and have patience. The colleges and the doctors there are overwhelmed by management of the patients. And so what has happened is the education is like the college has two purposes. I'm being very candid, and I want the children to understand. The medical college in India is a place of tertiary healthcare as well as education. So they have to do both the things. So, have patience that let the colleges first handle in the current era the patient management, and many places you will find them overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed with the number of patients in many places, especially in Mumbai, Delhi. The colleges are overwhelmed. But the second is that the colleges also, and I'm very happy to say that most are trying their best they are also taking up e-learning to maintain the continuity of the students. And the key again for the colleges will also be to maintain continuity. We cannot have a 4-month period without teaching for students. So there has to be a maintained continuity, make progress things. So I think they have to take up a lot of e-learning and a lot of assignments given to them, students, in terms of virtual patient assignments, like if this is the scenario, what will you do? And there will be places where things, the number of patients in India is very unequal. So there are places where the number of patients of the corona are less. So what will happen is those places, I think the ward training will also open up in the near future. But in some places it might take a little time.
Sir, the next question is, what precautions we need to keep in mind while students go for medical postings after Corona-19 pandemic?
See, I think there will be advisories given by the right authorities at the right time, because I would again say that we are not out of the storm right now, we are in the storm. So right now you have government guidelines to adhere to. There are, WHO guidelines, there are ICMR guidelines on PPE, mask and everything. There are better people that need to answer those precautions there. But what I would say is that in the immediate post-COVID era, this is my request to all youngsters, please continue the precautions for some time, because in the immediate era, there would always be a risk of a second peak coming back. So immediate post-COVID era, we will have to have the similar precautions like we are taking today. And then there will be a time where, we'll come back to the true normal. But it will not be a one day, like it will not be aaj 10 baje ke baad se kal normal ho jayega. It will not be like this. It will always be a slope that will happen. So we have to be careful during like right now we are rising like this, there will be a plateau, then there will be a downfall. So we have to be careful during the initial phases, initial downfall phases.
Sir, the question is, what productive we can do in this pandemic regarding studies for first year and second year students?
Yes, I think the first, second year students today, what is happening is, there will be people who may not agree to the thought here, but I truly believe first year, second year subjects are a lot more about understanding the basics behind the disease. The disease process will come later on. Right now you're learning about the pathology, the drugs. So you can actually cover a lot of ground by your self-study as well. So what I believe for the first, second year students, it is a good idea that you continue your reading. I'll tell you an idea here. This is what works for me. What happens is that first year students or second year students, most of the colleges are closed, and these students are sitting in home. So what the problem at home is that in home there is no schedule. In your college days, you're getting up, you're going to the college, you're studying, you're coming back, going to the library, all those things. So what I will ask you now is, please take a paper, and on the paper create a schedule for yourself. That at this time I will get up, this is the time when I will study, this is the time when I will go for a walk, and so that and this is the time I will exercise. You have to manage all these things. So what I would suggest to first, second year student is, create a timetable. In that timetable, please mark the topic that you want to study in this week and the time zones. And whenever you are able to finish, please tick mark. What will happen is, initially it will be a forced upon discipline, gradually it will become a habit. And once it becomes a habit, you will be able to come out of this. The only risk for the students at first, second years, and even the school students right now, is that there is no schedule that is there. There is no rhythm, and they have to build it themselves. So, and the parents and the students and their teachers all have to work together to tell these children that there is a need to be in a rhythm. So you need, like I told you, that when the pandemic hit, the first thing I did in NAMS was, I started, 11:30 to 2 o'clock, 11:30 to 1:30 class, 3:30 to 5:30. Like I gave them 2 hours class for spread out in the day, so that they have the rhythm of coming back to studies. And gradually we were able to take it off. So rhythm is the key here, rhythm. So I want to tell to the listener who has asked this question again, that beta, the key here is, don't become random. That okay, Abhi, you're getting up at 11, someday you're getting up at 12, someday you're studying, someday you're not studying. So you have to build a rhythm. I don't say you can, suppose you're not able to do 10 hours a day, that's okay right now. Better don't target that perfection. Target progress. At least 2 hours I have scheduled for study, at least 3 hours. Gradually you will be able to improve. But the key is, please have a rhythm and discipline in life where there should be an element of physical activity as well. That physical activity will be a challenge in places where you cannot actually go out much. But, at least, today we have those wearables like all those watches, all the things that will keep a step count. At least 10,000 steps you should be doing, all these children, because otherwise you will have a lot of issues otherwise coming up to you, and all this will add to the stress and anxiety levels. So we need to have rhythm in life, have rhythm in physical activity, and have rhythm in studies.
So the next question is, what first and second year students can do for the next exam preparation?
And I think, it's a very contemporary question that you have asked, is that, first, second year students right now, and even probably the third year students also, are looking at a possible exit exam also around the corner. Now, the challenge right now is, in this current scenario, what has happened is I already said, we are in a state of chaos in terms of education. The entire country is in a, the colleges are closed, things are not clear. But, the next idea was already, being developed. So a lot of things have already been developed by the government. Even the blueprint, they were at the blueprint stage. So the next exam would be happening. That is for sure. The only thing is which year, will it be 2022 or 2023, is yet to be clear. And I think it will take some time to be clear, get clear. But the students who are in first, second year, they need to realize that the next exam will be primarily clinical exam. So the basic sciences that they will ask in the exam will be applied aspect of basic sciences. For example, I'll give you an idea that suppose you are reading about the rotator cuff in the shoulder, okay? What you need to know is that why you need to know the rotator cuff in anatomy, what is rotator cuff tear, what tendon is the one which is commonly torn, or if you see a shoulder dislocation patient, we need to know why you need a glenoid labrum, what is a Burkhart's lesion, why we need to know this in anatomy, and so that you are able to connect the dots. So in your BD Chaurasia, I will give you an idea. In BD Chaurasia, there is after every topic there is something written as applied anatomy. Applied anatomy. That will be the key here. In biochemistry, there are things like inborn error of metabolism. They will become more and more important. Genetics, very, very important. And the most important subjects for you will be, I'm giving you a new subject to understand. It will be pathophysiology of the disease process. Now, this is something in India we are not talking about right now, but you will see once the next comes, you will see everybody will be using the same words that I'm using today. Pathophysiology of the disease process means that why and how of a disease. Like, let's understand today, like suppose you are looking at a case of rheumatoid arthritis, there is some pathology behind it, some antibody behind it, some inflammatory process behind it, and the why and how of it, which is the pathophysiology, you will have a good number of questions in the next exam on the pathophysiology of disease, which will be based on first, second prof. So anytime you're reading the disease process, you need to read it to understand, and that is where your mentors and teacher will be able to help you here. And the reason I'm telling you this is because when you are in first, second year, you do not know the clinical side. So that is where when you learn from teachers, you are able to understand the integration better. Your time of integration will come when you come to the end of final year. When you look back, you will be able to connect the dots. But the key is, the key word for first, second prof students will be pathophysiology of disease process. Why rheumatoid arthritis appears in a way that you see in clinics, why cardiac disease would appear like this, why you have a genetic disease leading to a cancer, why of it, which gene, what mutation, what oncogene is causing what. The why behind the disease process will help you along. And I would suggest to you, please read medicine as if you are reading a mystery novel. Every day you will find new things revealed to you. Please be happy about being in first, second year. And I want to tell the children of first, second profs today that sometimes I see them getting very angry. We have to study so much. But you need to understand that when you are studying, one aspect of the human disease is getting revealed to you, and there are millions of such aspects. So please, read with curiosity to understand. One day you will be using all this knowledge to cure patients, and when you cure a patient, you help his entire family.
Sir, those who have history of anxiety and each time their results are affected due to it, in spite of psychiatry help, what other things can be done to overcome it to be a good doctor in near future?
Now, I'm not a psychiatrist. I would like to, reinforce this statement here. But I have my own, viewpoint here. I'll give you my viewpoint here. Okay, because I feel like I can be of help. Now, I feel that anxiety happens when we are stressing more on the outcome rather than on the process. Okay, I'll explain it to you. Whenever a student or a child has a idea that, sir, I want to get into AIMS, I want to get into AIMS, I want to do this, so that when this preoccupation with the result is there, but I'm not enjoying what I'm learning, you create anxiety. So I would suggest this, if somehow you can detach yourself from the outcome and focus on the process, be very passionate about medicine. Be very, very, happy to learn, curious about medicine. Let's learn it for its own sake. Outcomes will come itself. But if I'm focusing too much on the outcome, less on the process, anxiety will increase. I hope you agree here. Like I've seen many people in otherwise, people who are entrepreneurs, people who are opening businesses, they have their ideas like, I want to make a company of this much value. And trust me, when I started DAMS, I had no idea what valuation or what money means. I had only one thing: I enjoy teaching. Okay, so that is where I had no anxiety of building anything. It was only I'm doing something which I enjoy doing, and I want to transfer the same detached passion to you all youngsters on this today, in this day of Doctors' Day, that you will become a great doctor. I'm telling you. But today your idea should be, let's enjoy what we are doing. Let's detach ourselves from the outcome. वो रहता है ना कि मुझे डिस्टिंक्शन लाना है उस पे नहीं, मुझे अच्छा पढ़ना है, अपने आप सब आएगा.
Sir, I think that's the last question. What are your views on hospitals calling up final students to attend and serve for COVID-19 crisis?
No, I think that's a mixed bag right now. Because I know for sure that many of the third years and fourth years are not equipped enough in their training to actually do a lot of impact in the work. But I think on the other hand, there is a shortage of doctors as well. So I think this is a very mixed bag kind of a decision. I do not know the impact of this right now, but it's a mixed bag. It's not a clear yes or no thing, because Naksha, I'm sure you would also agree here that third-year students sometimes may not have any idea about what to do in the world. So I don't know what. Maybe they might be able to help more in the paperwork kind of thing, but in the actual patient care, I have my own reservations there. But on the other hand, the government and the authorities also have their issues of shortage of manpower, so it's a mixed bag.
What are the changes that can be seen post this pandemic in both clinical and non-clinical fields? How can we normalize if we have any strategies to practice? I think you have covered this, sir.
I think I've talked about this, that there will be some incorporation of telemedicine, but gradually, everything will come back.
Okay, sir, that was the last question we had. So, well, that's all question we got. There is a famous saying, when there is darkness, there is light. When there is light, there is hope. When there is hope, there is effort. And when efforts always leads to achievement. And sir, you all delegates a very key important role being here. Thank you so much, sir, for being with us, and it was indeed an honor to have you here. Thank you once again, sir.
And I will take this opportunity to thank the organizers in your council that have worked hard, Nakshatra particularly, to get this event to be. You have been mailing me, talking to me all the time, and I think and other members of the team. I may not be able to name all of them, but I want to congratulate them on their efforts. That whatever we are doing today is. Whatever you people, youngsters, are doing is, don't underestimate the impact of your activities. Even if you are able to help one student or two students out of their anxiety through your medium, I think that will be a good purpose. So you may not know what lives you touch through your medium. I'll end with a small recall that just came to my mind. When I initially started DAMS and we started teaching initially, there was a student, I don't know the name of the student, but there was a student who used to send me uh, some questions on a, because that was slightly before the Facebook era. So there was this platform called as Orkut. I don't know you know Orkut or not. So there was a student who would send me questions on Orkut at that time, and I would answer those questions. And then and I that was off and on, and then I forgot about it. And then 5 years later, I got a message from a student who said, "Sir, that you helped me at that time when I needed." And that student sent me a card, and that was I think around 2004 or 5. He sent me a card that when you teach a man, when you give a fish to a man, you feed him for a day. When you teach him to fish, you feed him for life.
Feed him for life.
You remember? So, and that card, that gave me my purpose in my life. That okay, when we teach, we impact lives that we actually never, consciously I did not know that I was impacting a life, and gradually that realization came to me. And I feel that for today, I feel you people are also impacting lives, touching lives through your media. You may not know, who might be helped through your media, but I think it's a great effort. I congratulate you all on your work, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. Well, moving further on to our second delegate of today's event. She is a physician, teacher, researcher, first batch of lifestyle medicine practitioner in India. She has district fellowship in diabetes from CMC Vellore. She had guided MBBS, MD medicine students, PhD scholars in various research projects.